Lucifer, the morning star, once the most radiant of all angels, became the very symbol of pride and the fall of Satan. Imagine a being so beautiful, so powerful, so anointed, that even the heavens resounded with his music. Yet in the silence of his own heart, pride whispered, and the glory of heaven turned into the curse of hell. This is not just the story of Lucifer, it is the warning of what happens when light turns into darkness, when worship transforms into rebellion. Why did the one who stood above the stones of fire, the anointed cherub who covered the throne of God, choose to say, "I will," instead of "thy will"? Why did the most perfect creation in Eden, described in Ezekiel 28 and Isaiah 14, trade wisdom for arrogance and beauty for ashes? Could it be that the first sin in the universe, the pride of Lucifer, still whispers in the hearts of men today? In this video, you will uncover the hidden truth about the fall of Lucifer, the rebellion of 1/3 of the angels, and why Jesus said, "I saw Satan fall like lightning." You will see why the greatest enemy of man is not violence or death, but pride, the silent destroyer of destinies. And you will understand why humility, worship, and surrender are the only weapons that can overcome the deception of the enemy. Tell me in the comments, do you believe pride is more dangerous than any other sin? I want to hear your thoughts, because this question has the power to divide opinions and open hearts. And if this story awakens something inside you, if the battle between light and darkness touches your soul, make sure to subscribe and like this video so that more people can discover the truth hidden for centuries. Together, let us walk the path of humility, for the way up is always down, and only those who bow before the name of Jesus will rise above the fall that destroyed Lucifer. The splendor of Lucifer's creation. Lucifer, the morning star, was not born in shadow but in blazing brilliance. Ezekiel 28 paints the vision. Covered in precious stones, crowned with perfection, wisdom gleaming like fire. He walked upon the holy mountain of God, standing where few could stand, his wings stretching wide as the anointed cherub who covered the throne. Imagine the weight of such glory, music flowing from his very being, harmonies echoing through heaven as worship poured forth. This was not a creature of dust. This was the masterpiece of God's artistry, sculpted in beauty beyond human imagination. Yet with every gift comes responsibility. The more radiant the jewel, the easier it is to mistake the reflection for the source. The story of Lucifer is not just about an angel, it is about the fragile line between receiving glory and stealing it. We too stand in that line every day when we forget that every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of success is not ours but given. Have you ever looked at your own achievements and felt that whisper of pride, that subtle thought of self-glory? That is where the danger begins, and that is where the seeds of rebellion first grow. The seed of pride. Pride was not loud at first. It began in the silence of admiration, in the secret chambers of thought. Isaiah 14 records the 5 "I will" declarations of Lucifer. I will ascend, I will exalt, I will sit, I will rise, I will be like the Most High. Each word dripped with ambition, each vow echoing defiance against the Creator. Pride is the oldest sin, the deadliest poison, for it blinds even the brightest. Lucifer's wisdom became corrupted, his beauty became his downfall, his ambition became his curse. Think of how this repeats in our world. Kings rise and fall, nations boast and collapse, men and women touch greatness only to be consumed by their own ego. Pride whispers the same promise it whispered to Lucifer: "You deserve more. You can be your own God." But the truth is simple. What we do not lift up as praise becomes pride, and what becomes pride always falls. The fall of Satan reminds us that no throne built on self can stand. How many times in life do we chase success, fame, recognition, only to find emptiness in our victories? This is not just a cosmic story, it is a mirror held up to our souls. And if pride brought down the brightest star, what could it do to us? The rebellion in heaven. Lucifer's pride did not remain hidden. It became a movement. Revelation speaks of 1/3 of the stars of heaven swept by his tail, angels deceived and dragged into darkness. What began as a thought became words. What began as whispers became promises. What began as pride became war. He traded truth for lies, loyalty for betrayal, and in doing so, corrupted an entire company of angels. This was the first revolution, the first great rebellion, not fought with swords of steel, but with the subtlety of persuasion, with slander, with ambition. Imagine the shock of heaven as worship turned into defiance, as unity fractured into division. Have you seen this in life? A community, a family, a church, once united, torn apart by pride, gossip, ambition. The pattern is the same because the author of that pattern has never changed his tactics. Lucifer, now Satan, carries the same blueprint into our world: divide, deceive, destroy. And yet, even in this rebellion, there was a lesson carved for eternity. No matter how high you rise, no matter how many follow you, no one can take the throne of God. Pride always leads to exile. Rebellion always leads to ruin. And here the story flows into the fall like lightning, where the beauty of heaven's brightest star met the judgment of the Almighty, and the morning star became the prince of darkness. The fall like lightning. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Those words from Jesus in Luke 10:18 are not poetic exaggeration. They are the eyewitness testimony of the Son of God. In one breath, heaven's brightest being was struck down, his glory shattered, his wings no longer carrying him through the stones of fire, but cast into the dust of shame. Imagine the speed of that fall, faster than the eye can see, faster than thunder can echo. The morning star, who once covered the throne of heaven, became the enemy of every soul. And yet this moment is more than cosmic history. It is a living lesson. The higher pride lifts you, the harder it drops you. How many leaders, celebrities, even friends have we seen climb to dazzling heights, only to collapse under the weight of their own arrogance? Lucifer's fall is echoed in every downfall we witness today. The fall of Lucifer is not just a tale of angels, it is the blueprint of self-destruction when the heart says, "I will," instead of "thy will." But in this moment of judgment, another truth was written into eternity. For while Lucifer reached upward to steal what was not his, Jesus emptied himself, humbled himself, and because of that, God lifted him higher than every throne. This is the great paradox. The way up is down. The way to true power is through humility. Think of a tree. The taller it grows, the deeper its roots must go into the soil, or else the first storm will tear it down. In life, our success is no different. If we rise without roots of humility, we will fall with the storm. Have you ever seen pride take down someone who could have been great? Have you ever felt the sting of arrogance in your own life, only to realize later that it kept you from greater blessings? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this is not just Lucifer's story, it is humanity's story too. Pride versus humility, the great contrast. Lucifer's ambition was to climb above the stars, to sit on the Mount of Assembly, to be like the Most High. But Christ, already equal with God, chose to step down, to walk among us, to wash the feet of men, to carry the cross of shame. One reached upward and fell, one bent downward and rose above every name. This contrast is the heartbeat of the Bible, the dividing line between the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light. Pride says, "Exalt yourself." Humility whispers, "Bow low and let God exalt you." Which voice are you listening to today? In Philippians 2, we see this eternal law. He humbled himself even to death on a cross. Therefore God exalted him to the highest place. The law of heaven is not wealth, not beauty, not charisma. It is humility. Lucifer lost everything because he forgot the source of his greatness. Jesus gained everything because he remembered the will of the Father. In our world, this plays out every day. A proud heart refuses to forgive, and relationships break. A humble heart bends and heals, and love is restored. A proud person chases applause and ends lonely. A humble soul serves quietly and becomes unforgettable. This is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in gentleness. Humility does not mean denying your gifts. It means remembering who gave them to you. Every talent, every success, every breath is a gift. When we turn those gifts back into worship, we walk in light. When we hoard them for ourselves, we walk in shadow. That is why humility is healing. It realigns us with the source of life. And it is why pride is deadly. It cuts us off from the very one who breathed us into being. So what do we learn from the great contrast between Lucifer and Jesus? That your destiny is not determined by how high you climb, but by how deep you bow. The way up is down. The more blessings you hold, the more reasons you have to praise. The more light you carry, the more carefully you must guard against pride. For if the morning star fell by arrogance, how much more must we anchor our hearts in humility? Let this truth carry us forward into the next revelation, the story of how the one who led heaven's music now wages war on earth, and why humanity stands at the center of this eternal conflict. From heaven's musician to earth's enemy, Lucifer was not only clothed in stones of fire, he was clothed in sound. Ezekiel 28 suggests that instruments were woven into his very being, every movement producing melody, every breath carrying harmony. Imagine the throne of God surrounded by endless music, a sea of worship where every chord reflected his glory, and at the center of it all stood the anointed cherub, conducting heaven's symphony. That was Lucifer. Music was not just his talent, it was his identity, his power, his purpose. But when pride poisoned the heart, the very gift meant to lift praise became a weapon to draw worship away from God. Cast down, stripped of glory, he twisted music into manipulation, rhythm into rebellion, harmony into chains. Look at the world today, and you see the same pattern. Songs that once healed now seduce. Melodies that once united, now corrupt. Beats that once carried hope, now spread despair. The fall of Lucifer is not only an ancient memory, it is alive in culture, in art, in voices that echo the same deception. And yet, the lesson is clear. Every gift can either glorify the Creator or glorify self. Every talent we hold is a doorway to worship or a doorway to pride. Have you seen this in your own life? The pull to use what you have for applause instead of purpose. The morning star teaches us this. If we turn gifts into idols, they will consume us. But if we return them to the one who gave them, they become rivers of healing. Share in the comments. Do you believe music still holds power to shape the soul for light or for darkness? This is the battlefield Lucifer chose, and it remains the front line today. The lessons of Lucifer's fall. The story of Lucifer is not a myth to entertain. It is a mirror to transform. Pride was the first sin, and it still topples kings, ruins families, divides nations, and breaks hearts. The fall of Satan reminds us that beauty without humility becomes corruption. Wisdom without surrender becomes arrogance, and power without worship becomes destruction. But here is the hope. The same God who cast down the proud lifts up the humble. Before destruction, the heart is haughty, but before honor comes humility. Proverbs 18:12. This is not just theology. It is a law written into reality. Think of the people you admire most. Is it their pride that inspires you, or their humility, their service, their willingness to give? The world glorifies self-promotion, but heaven honors self-denial. The fall of the morning star shows us the danger of saying, "I will." The rise of Christ shows us the power of saying, "Thy will." Every day we stand at that same crossroads. Will we echo Lucifer's rebellion or Christ's surrender? Will we chase our own thrones or bow before the Eternal One? There is healing in this lesson. If pride is the poison, humility is the antidote. If rebellion leads to exile, worship leads to home. Let every breath, every success, every moment become an offering. Because what we do not turn into praise will always harden into pride. This is the secret that keeps us safe, the shield that keeps us whole. And this is why worship is not a ritual, but survival. Without it, like a fish without water, like lungs without air, our souls cannot live. Learn from the bright morning star, who became the enemy of light. Guard your heart, stay humble, keep worship alive. For the more God blesses you, the more reasons you have to bend low, and the more you bow, the higher you will rise. This truth prepares us for the final reflection, where the story of Lucifer becomes not just history, but a personal call to live as children of light in a world that still trembles under the shadow of his fall. Lucifer, the morning star, once radiant in perfection, is now remembered as the greatest warning carved into eternity. His beauty was flawless, his wisdom unmatched, his role exalted beyond measure. Yet it was pride that turned light into darkness, worship into rebellion, glory into ashes. The story of Lucifer is more than an ancient tale from Isaiah 14 or Ezekiel 28. It is the mirror of our own hearts, the eternal reminder that what we do not lift up as praise will harden into pride, and pride always leads to a fall. Satan's rebellion began in heaven, but its echoes still shake the earth today, tempting every soul to exalt self above the Creator. His fall, like lightning, is not just cosmic history. It is a message written in fire across the skies of eternity. The way up is down, and the path of humility is the only road that leads to life. Imagine the splendor of the throne room, where worship resounded like thunder, where the anointed cherub once led melodies that filled the heavens. Then imagine the silence when that music turned to manipulation, when loyalty became betrayal, when 1/3 of the stars of heaven were swept away into darkness. This was the birth of the fall of Satan, the moment when heaven's most gifted became hell's fiercest enemy. And yet, even in this tragedy, there is light for us, because for every act of rebellion, God writes a lesson, and for every fall, He shows us a path to rise. The contrast is striking. Lucifer reached upward, crying, "I will." Jesus stepped downward, whispering, "Thy will." Lucifer tried to steal a throne and was cast down. Jesus left his throne, embraced the cross, and was lifted above every name. This is the great contrast that defines eternity. Pride destroys, humility exalts. The most dangerous enemy is not outside but within, the silent whisper of arrogance that blinds us to the truth. The fall of Lucifer warns us that beauty without surrender becomes corruption, wisdom without worship becomes arrogance, and power without humility becomes destruction. But there is healing in this story. It tells us that no matter how low we feel, we are never beyond God's reach, for even dust was lifted into life when He breathed into Adam. Unlike Lucifer, who exalted himself and fell, we were made from the humblest clay so that we might never forget our need for the Creator. This is not a curse, it is our greatest gift, because humility does not chain us, it frees us. It grounds us in the truth that every breath, every heartbeat, every success is not ours but His. Think of your own journey. How many times have you stood on the edge of pride, tempted to claim the glory for yourself? How many times have you seen pride ruin friendships, tear apart families, destroy communities? And yet, how many times have you also seen humility restore what pride broke? This is the living lesson of the morning star's fall. It is not distant, it is not abstract. It is here, woven into our choices every single day. Pride asks for worship. Humility gives it. Pride demands control. Humility surrenders. Pride isolates. Humility heals. So what does this mean for you right now? It means that the battle of Lucifer, says Jesus, is not only fought in the heavens, it is fought in your heart. Every choice is a declaration of whose path you will follow. Will you exalt yourself and chase empty crowns? Or will you bow low and receive the crown of life that never fades? Will you let pride whisper that you are enough without God, or will you let humility remind you that with God you are more than enough? This is not just theology, it is survival. Because just as a fish cannot live without water and lungs cannot breathe without air, the soul cannot survive without worship. If this story has stirred something in you, if it has awakened memories of battles with pride, moments when you felt the weight of arrogance or the beauty of surrender, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe pride is truly the deadliest sin, greater even than violence, lust, or greed? Or do you see it differently? Share in the comments, because your voice matters, and your reflection may help someone else find clarity in their own journey. And if this video has given light to your spirit, if it has reminded you of the power of humility and the danger of pride, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe so that you do not miss the next story. Like this video if it brought value to your soul, and let your engagement be the energy that allows these messages to keep reaching others. If you feel this has helped you find a glimpse of light in dark days, know that even the smallest gesture of support is priceless. It allows me to continue creating and sharing the Word of God with a world in need of healing. Every comment, every like, every subscription is not just data. It is a spark of light, a ripple that spreads hope to countless others. Lucifer's fall is a warning, but it is also an invitation. It warns us not to exalt ourselves above our Maker, and it invites us to choose a different path, the path of Jesus, the path of humility, the path of love that never fails. The story of Lucifer from glory to curse is not meant to leave us in fear, but to call us into freedom, reminding us that we were not created to fall. We were created to worship, to shine, to live as children of light. Let this truth heal your heart and ignite your spirit. Let it draw you closer to the one who exalts the humble and scatters the proud. And as you step away from this story, carry with you the eternal reminder: the more blessings you receive, the more reasons you have to bow. For the way up is down, and those who humble themselves will rise higher than they ever dreamed. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Thank you for opening your heart to the lesson of the morning star, and thank you for being part of a community that seeks truth, light, and healing. Every moment you spend here is a gift, and from my heart I am grateful. May you walk in humility, may you rise in grace, and may your life reflect the glory of the one who reigns forever. And until the next story, remember this truth: pride brings ruin, but humility brings life. Stay humble, stay strong, and stay in the light.